All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome on back for our afternoon meeting. Let's get a quick sound check just to begin. Make sure everyone can hear me loud and clear. And that goes across the board for all of us here live in our trading room across the social streams. Welcome on back, guys. Great to see everybody. John, Michael, William, John S., Guy, who I want to give a quick shout out to in just a moment. Mark, Greg, Eric, all of us joining us here in our live trading room, loud and clear, unanimous across the board. Great to see. And like I said, guys, welcome on back, joining us across the board from YouTube and Facebook Live. So, guys, keep in mind, just with the market, we ended up seeing kind of a break-even market going into the open. Dow wasn't really up or down nearly enough to comment on. That said, we ended up seeing a nice pop across the board once the market opened. The Dow ended up making a short-lived move back over 26,000. Obviously, you could see the Dow came back down, ended up holding pretty flat right under 26 leading into this afternoon. So we'll come back to some of the side list stocks because a few of them, the airlines, the cruise lines, beginning to push up, or at least from the last time I checked in on a few of them, like UAL just a few moments ago, we ended up seeing them make a sharp bounce just a moment before. So we'll check in with some of those just once we scan through the percent gainers and losers. I have the VXRT on our screen here to begin, because the VXRT, I mean, this was our stock from the afternoon yesterday, right? So, just to quickly mention, because Fausto really ran over this going into the morning, this morning, he discussed this pop, but, we put this on our list going into the close yesterday. And this ended up paying off as well as it ever could. So, the VXRT, it's not for us to say that this was guaranteed to pop over 8, but it's for us to think, what if this does pop over 8? I mean, 8 was holding there across the whole afternoon as a major resistance. So if we happen to see this continue to make higher lows, this VXRT trade from yesterday, and finally make a pop over 8, we're hopeful to get like a nice 50 cent or so move. So when this ended up very quickly running up to 850 and much further above that price, we knew that we were in a really good position to hold into the close. At least for right now, though, going into the morning, or rather afternoon today, VXRT kind of flat. And we ended up seeing this make like 2 or 3 bounces off that 8 level today. It's been holding over it really well. So just goes to show strong resistance ended up becoming strong support. For right now, though, I wouldn't continue to bank on that 8 level holding and running up going into the afternoon. If anything, I think this VXRT trade going into the afternoon is going to tank. Watch out for support off of 750 going into the afternoon, guys. That was yesterday's closing bell print. All right. NEO from this morning, quickly to begin by going over the ones from this morning at least. The VXRT, we were watching a bit, but that one ended up dumping off, as you could see. The NEO trade dumped off as well. This one, though, is shortable, so we've been following this on the way down going into this early to mid-afternoon. Going into the morning, of course, with NEO continuing to push up. This morning, it gapped up enough to break a new all-time high. So really quickly, we were discussing that yesterday as well, where NEO, the all-time high we discussed in our trading room here, it was that like 1380. Yeah, 1380 back, 2 days into its trading, 1 day off its IPO. So it ended up gapping well above that early on this pre-market. So when there's an all-time high, there's no historical ceiling to work with. So shortly after the open, this ended up doing us very well on the way up, broke above resistance off of 1430, eventually above 1450, and ran up pretty nicely, as you could see. Hit a high of 1528, essentially a dollar move from where we were looking for the breakout trade. So, with that said, unfortunately, this came crashing back down, eventually made a lower high, and you could see it finally broke underneath the low of the day, underneath a major support level at $14. And once this sliced under 14, this is exactly why I was saying to a few of us here in the trading room, at least before, guys, you can't catch the falling knife. You can't try and buy this stock as it's, dropping. You figure, hey, NEO made such a big move. It's off good news. This will move back up in due time. That's not how it works, guys. That's not how it always works. And that's not how we look to follow a stock like this. So for a stock like NEO that ran up day over day over day with a huge gap up and breaking all-time highs, we're still going to follow this, and hopefully there will be a buying opportunity on this trade at some point. Going into this afternoon, our next level of support is off 13. So hopefully we happen to see this stock crash under 13, but then move very quickly back over 13 and hold above there. And from that point, we'll look to see this potentially squeeze back up. Going into the afternoon for right now, NEO, definitely we're going to put this on our list. You'd figure for a stock trading 415 million shares that it would be a little exhausted at this point. But hey, at the same time as we put VXRT on our watch list yesterday afternoon, we were kind of comparing this NEO trade with Plug, PLUG, two stocks that are kind of similar in characteristic, different companies. But in terms of just being exhausted, I mean, hey, Neo ended up, moving up pretty nicely and then tailing off going into the afternoon. It was a good short, whereas Plug kind of just stalled out. I mean, Neo still had some life to it going into yesterday afternoon, and it looks even sharper going into this one. So, yeah, Neo easily will put on our main list for right now. Hopefully see this test support off 13. All right, we got one shout on NKLA. We got two shouts on NKLA. We'll go to Nikola. Fausto was talking about that early on in pre-market, and as you could see right now, a fantastic call by one of our students, Dominic. Yeah, pushing up right now to make a new high. So easily enough, Dom, we'll throw this right on our list again going into the afternoon. Um, Dom writes in the chat board here. He says, "Holla at a player." Yep. Well, great call, Dom. So very nice call. We'll look to see this make a move up to next resistance. You would figure every 50 cents for there to be a bit of a level, but with how illiquid the order book is here, guys, and I mean that. I mean, you could see at 53, there is a 4,000 share order on the bid. Not much more than that, right? 53.50 is our next somewhat level of resistance. Above that, you would assume for there to be a lot more volume on the offer on the ask at 54. So great call, Dom. I should have gotten to this perhaps Neo at the market, or NKLA rather, at the market open, pulled back, but then broke out, right? So it held off 45, broke much further above the pre-market high and lifted off. So obviously continuing going into this afternoon. So definitely great call. We'll put this back on our list. All right, and then above Dominic here in our chat board, at least I'll scroll up for right now, guys. Greg saying the IDEX making a move up. Another great call. Fantastic. And we ended up seeing this make, of course, a nice little pop going into the mid-morning, from low of the day 122 up to eventually 150-ish. I thought that this would make a little bit of a run going into the afternoon. I wish I could say it jumped in over the 150 level. Obviously, it would have paid off. It took its sweet time to make this run up to the next resistance. But at least for right now, it's a familiar name. We've been trading IDEX over the last month at this point now, guys. So, it's one that's made a big move up for us in the past. It's one that's also, pulled back shortly after. So it's not necessarily a buy and hold, but, it could be a buy and trade going into the close perhaps, right? So, yeah, great call, Greg, on this IDEX. All right, so I guess I'll go through the scanners here in just a moment, guys, the percent gainers and losers list. Now I have some comments from YouTube here, so let me go to that here at first. From one of us here saying, Solo, do you think there could be a bounce off of 450? So another one that did well from this morning, another electric vehicle company as well. All of these have moved up with Tesla, right? So we ended up seeing Solo. I mean, it's literally in the name, electronic vehicle, right? So Solo ended up making a squeeze up in pre-market, popped shortly after the open, eventually, made a move up higher over resistance at 505, 510. That's where we entered, at least in the trading room. Moved up to 546. Going into the afternoon, I wouldn't expect this to hold support and make a huge squeeze back up, just with the way the stock is trending after making a huge, gap and run up this morning. It wouldn't surprise me if this one continues to trade lower going into the close. Perhaps 450 is the next level, but I feel like there could be more stops on this run. Who knows? I could be wrong. Hope I am, but I would just say based on the trend, I don't think this is the last stop. What do you think about OSTK from Peter? Welcome back, Peter. Here he's asking about OSTK. Yeah, I mean, hey, OSTK, I did not put on the watch list yesterday afternoon where I should have. I actually ended up seeing it on the gainer side and I skipped over it. Ended up popping. It was more so at like 3:30, right? So it was super flat going into the meeting. So I honestly skipped over this trade. I didn't really even look at it. So this popped on us going into the final 30 minutes of the day. At least for right now, Peter's asking, what do you think about OSTK? Not really moving. I mean, it's dropping. So that's the trend. It's dropping steadily off the last peak. I'd say it's range bound. Not really drooling over it for right now, Peter. I mean, I will say, actually, how about this? No, I'm going to correct myself there. And maybe I will put this on our watch list, Peter. I assumed that OSTK was hard to borrow. I didn't even look next to the name. There's no HB next to the ticker, right? So this could very well be a good short should this continue to break lower. That would more so be the reason why I would follow this going into the final hour of the trading day. With the way this is dropping off, it's right back at support. but it's already held that support level pretty nicely. If it's not breaking higher, and I feel like it's only going to break lower, I'll come right back to it to this overstock trade, Peter. That's a really good call. And I say that more on the short side, if anything. I don't know if that's what you were referring to there, but I've always found this OSTK trade to be hard to borrow, or at least it was when we were more so trading this going back into late April, early May, running up here. But yeah, I mean, this could be a nice short going into the afternoon. All right, so guys, what we'll do is go from top to bottom at this point. I got some other chat here in the trading room. We'll get to those just at the very end. Top percent gainer right now, NGHC. What the hell is this? How about this? I'm not going to look at this. Look at the news just yet. For all of us here in the trading room, what do you think happened on this stock? I don't know what happened. I'll be honest. I have no idea. I have my guess. I think I'm going to be right. But for all of our students here in our live trading room, what do you think happened to this stock? All of us are saying it here. Buy out. Let me, where's my cursor? Scroll over to my trusty Benzinga Pro. When a stock is flatlining like that in pre-market and when it's just trading that much volume, it's a buyout. And one of us saying, Guy wrote here, says, bought by Allstate. Interesting. Interestingly, even more interesting, I should say, I don't have any news even on Benzinga Pro for this NGHC. They don't even post the buyout news. It's pretty odd. Oh, there we go. Allstate late Tuesday announced acquiring National General Holdings. All right. That came out, I mean, that was at 10:33 from Benzinga here. News came out, though, in pre-market, though, early on. I know that because by the time the market opened up, this was already up big and flat. But just generally, really quick, when you happen to see that early on in pre-market, you don't even need to look at the news. It's going to be a buyout. It's going to flatten out. It's not going to be worth it. All right, we keep the train moving, guys. AIHS, nice pop going into the market open for a stock that was up as much as this. Well, instead of the pullback, it actually popped right out of the gate, but right afterwards and pulled back, and look at where it is now. So that's usually what happens. If it doesn't pull back right at 9:30, and if it pops right out of the gate, it's going to pull back right after. Nice cheapie here. Smart SMRT. A little cheapie from 33 up to 50 almost. Not really a fan of those cheapies as much. They don't really have as steady moves up afterwards. QD. I mean, how can we not talk about QD here? So QD obviously ended up making a pop shortly after the market opened up. We didn't really follow this as much in pre-market, though. So really after 9:30, we were scanning the market. Fausto called this out himself. Ended up making a fantastic trend at the time. But man, you wouldn't think it would make the continued move up going into this whole afternoon. Now, if we look on the daily chart, though, it might be a little bit easier to say that. So this QD stock, not even back from July. I think it was a new IPO, fairly new. Yeah, this stock's been getting crushed off its IPO. So we've been familiar with this trade on and off over the years. And typically, just like the JMIA trade, which we'll get to, I'm sure, coming up very shortly, for a stock that made this big of a drop off here and seeing it squeeze up on the 1 minute chart going into the afternoon, we would love to follow a stock like this. You see it squeeze higher. So QD, easily we're going to put on our list. If anything, I mean, if not number one, just right at the top. It also is shortable. So if it craps out the other way like Neo did yesterday, it would be a good short. Greg's IDEX pulled back, but a healthy pullback, we'll call it. Perhaps it'll begin to move back up now. JMIA trade right back up to my 760 resistance. Perfect. I'm emphatic about that because myself and one of our students, Lee, were just watching this earlier in a coaching session. I took an entry off of 750 and I got stopped out at 746. No problem. I mean, it was a 5 or 6 cent loss. It was right over this breakout here. I wanted this to break much higher over the next resistance at 760. So, you know, not to say I was greedy, but I was expecting a better run at the time. Well, I got stopped out right here once it broke under 750. I missed out just on the pullback down, and at least for right now, squeezing right back up to resistance. So, Yeah, JMIA, another stock much like QD, actually. I was saying before, we followed this as well off its IPO back in 2019. I already had this on our list. We started off with this stock, I forgot. So I guess we'll keep this on our list at this point, just making a very strong push back up to that resistance 760. All right, got a lot of these squeezes, guys. Really, I'll tell you, there's another couple I actually see as we continue to go down the gainer side here. TCS Container Store, another one actually, I'd say so. But for right now, this looks a little bit weaker. Not as much volume being traded per minute. I think for right now, we pass on this. XENT, this kind of looks like a buyout. I don't know if it is or isn't. I'm not going to waste the time finding out. We're just not going to follow it. Nikola pulled back quite a bit. Perhaps it's going to build a higher low off this breakout level here, perhaps right off the 51. Hopefully. Not much there. Let's get the price here just to show. We'll kind of skim through the rest of the gainer side. FLDM, easy enough for me to just put this on our list at this point. I guess good timing. Popping, making a new high as we speak. And how about this Benzinga Pro? I wish I could show all of us here in the live stream in the trading room this, but I just got the ping on Benzinga Pro for FLDM new highs. So we're even quicker than them. Pushing up to 550, major resistance ahead though. So yeah. Got a few of these that hopefully will trade higher going into the afternoon. All right, this one, Tiger. This one I kind of put in line with that JMIA trade, just in reference of seeing an IPO run up, get crushed heavily. And in the past, we've traded the stock off of small little squeezes here before, going back into early 2020. And then I believe we called this out back on Monday of this week. I don't think I traded this at the time. At least for right now, TIGR, I was hopeful to see this be near the highs going into the afternoon. Just made an ugly shake just a moment ago. It'll be a sideless stock, perhaps. I like the JMIA more. I like the QD trade a lot more. Maybe keep this in mind. If not for today, then perhaps for the rest of this week. Oh, and I skipped over. How can I skip over the CLNE trade? I forgot. So CLNE, it kind of looks like this, like made a huge pop right at 9:30. But that's not 9:30. This ended up opening up and just making like the perfect trend across the morning. And then shortly, like right before 11 o'clock, 10:30-ish time here, bam, this thing ended up breaking above resistance at the time, 290, right over 3, ended up just exploding. So this was sneaky. One of, if not the best trade that we had today, CLNE. I forgot about this. So, this stock for right now, I mean, as much of a move as this stock made up, it pulled back quite a bit. It also is easy to borrow. It's shortable. So, it was a nice short on the way down, it seems. For right now, though, this is definitely the type of pattern, type of volume that I would say just exhaustion. I don't think the stock's going to move as much for us up or down going into this afternoon. Definitely want to keep your eye on, though, just for tomorrow and Friday of this week. Definitely good to keep on the side. All right. Man, we got a few more here. Damn. Forgot for all of these that moved in pre-market or, after the market opened, like NNVC here, this was a big dud after 9:30. Actually, really, the whole pre-market, this was a bit of a bust. It popped well before a lot of us were even able to trade in the pre-market. So perhaps if you were, in this trade as a swing, or if you were in early enough, if you were able to trade pre-market at 7 o'clock, perhaps you would have been able to get in on this low float run, but dumped off right after the market opened up. I mean, hey, for right now this afternoon, it's starting to get the gears turning to make a pop. I want to go through the losers list first, but I'll come back to this. I'll come back to OSTK before we finish up. All right, what else do we have here? Eros, EROS, made a nice run up today and trying to squeeze up higher, still near the highs. The stock is hard to borrow, whereas in the past, the stock was shortable. Just remember that. I don't mind adding this for right now. Eros still seems pretty strong at these prices. Looks like it tested resistance off of 4 earlier, high of the day at 4, so likely test big iceberg. Then last one here, guys, ENZ. Holy smokes. So, we ended up calling this ENZ trade out off the pop. And I mean, this is the worst case scenario, to think it's just going to dump right back down for the volume to totally crap out. I wanted to get support off of 290 on this trade, around 290 to $3. I ended up entering this trade right on this bar as it was, this bar here as it was beginning to push up. I got in actually underneath 3. I set a tight stop underneath this bar, but it pushed up at the time. I didn't get out here on this pop. I got out right around 3. It was a break-even trade, as I would call it. It looks like it moved up a little bit more, but I'd rather be out there than be out here. So at this point, this ENZ trade, and I mean, it happened way before this, but the volume totally crapped out on this trade here. It is shortable. So, I mean, I guess I could have thought about shorting this if it wasn't going to break higher, but at least for right now, we're going to pass. All right, guys, current time is 2:50. We're kind of running a little late. I want to run through the losers list, see if there's anything else otherwise. So I don't really see a lot that's down significantly enough for me to assume a dead cat bounce. Nothing really on good volume. Nothing really that's shortable here. Maybe this RNWK, really flat. VXRT, that's where I told you guys I thought this would break much lower going into the close. I hope I'm wrong, but I think I'm going to keep this off our watch list for right now. Levi Strauss, I think they reported earnings this morning, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, yesterday afternoon. You could just see off the activity. All right. I mean, it is shortable. It's down big. It's trading a lot of volume per minute. It's just not really doing a whole lot. Yeah, I'm not going to put this on our list for right now. I just feel like there could be better opportunity. I mean, it looks like a decent setup, but that's where I would tell you guys I'd rather trade OSTK. And OSTK, like I'd said, shortable, albeit a little bit more expensive than Levi, but looks like it held a lower high off 42, pulling back pretty nicely here. So OSTK, I'll put this on our main list. All right, guys, if there's anything else here, up, down, left, right, 10%, let me know. Pat's been cleaning up on the Neo short, and I'm taking a look at Pat's entries right now in our trading room. I haven't checked in on Neo since we, of course, looked at it. Pat's entry, he just picked up 12 cents, but his entry, 12.49. Are you telling me that Neo slammed under 13 and hit 12.50 that fast? Holy smokes, guys. Are you kidding me? I have some other words, but they're 4 letters and not meant for this room, but damn, this thing is dropping off like a sinking ship. I mean, really, this is exactly why, guys, we don't look to try and catch the falling knife. If there is a lesson to be learned today, I guess that would be it. Pat, nice job on the short. Holy smokes. All right, well, you know where our next support level is, guys. Maybe it's 12. Maybe we'll get that bounce off at 12 here at this point. But don't try and catch buying off the bid. If anything, like I was saying before on a trade like this, I hope this doesn't freeze up my screen. But for a trade like this needs to break under the level, break over the level, but hold. Have it hold over the level afterwards. You need to make sure of that in order to see this squeeze back up. This sliced right under 13. Oh my goodness. Did anybody else jump in short on Neo? And Guy just said Solo just broke support at 450. Mark, there we go, right off our coaching session earlier today. Mark S. got in 24 cents on Neo. Mark, where'd you end up getting in on that trade? Very nice trade. And yes, Solo in the same business, unfortunately, moving right back down with it. And along with Neo, Brad saying it's a mirror of the Tesla chart, right? So, that's exactly what Fausto was pointing out earlier on today, guys. I don't know if there's news out with Tesla. Maybe there is. It's driving everything down right now. I mean, the markets are holding up and kind of making lower highs, the Dow, but it's not really tanking. Yeah, I got no new news on Tesla, at least. So it could just be natural profit taking. I don't know. All right, cool. Mark says he was in on Neo from 12.35, got out at 12.11, and Jeff picked up some money. He was in from 12.90. Excellent. All right, guys, let me know if there's anything else, though. I mean, really, I'm pretty content with this list. We don't need to put anything else on there, but if there's anything else that looks great, just let me know. We will not be adding Tesla to our watch list. I think a little expensive. All right, I got crickets across the board, guys. That's good enough for me, so I'll take it. In total, we got 2, 4, 6, 8 stocks on the list. The shoe fits, not too little, not too many, just right, I think. And aside from that, though, of course, keep in mind, just if there's really nothing from this list that's moving going into 315, 330, which I mean, I'll be honest, I doubt that's going to be the case. But, around 315, 330, we'll look to rescan the market a bit further, a bit more seriously from that point, and see if there's anything else that we had missed going into the final 30 minutes of this market day, guys. All right. Aside from that, for all of us on Facebook, for all of us on YouTube, if you'd like to learn more about Cyber Trading University, just give a call to the phone number down below. One of our education advisors will just provide more detail. All right. For all of us here in the trading room, as I always say, guys, let's try and close out this Wednesday afternoon just as well as we had opened it up. Take care.